How's it going, everybody? Papa Wall Street back. And I'm going to do something a little new today. So, for those of you who are new, again, my name is Danny Naz, but you guys might know me as the Papa Wall Street. And every weekend, I go through pretty much the same process. Slightly different this week because Friday was my 1 year anniversary with my wife. But usually, what happens on Friday after market close, 4:01, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going through the prior week's watch list and I'm pulling out the names that stood out, right? Maybe they broke out and they're still within range of the breakout. Maybe they broke out and are starting to pull back for a back test. Maybe they are ready to break out, or maybe they've already pulled back before the breakout and we're looking for a high quality pullback entry. So part one of my process is really filtering through that watch list and finding names that what I deem and I call the carryover watch list, meaning I'm taking these names from last week's watch list and I'm just going to push them onto next week's watch list because there's still a trade there, right? There's still an opportunity to take a trade, to get in, or to watch for continuation pullback. So let me take you through this week's watch list. Now, I added Bitcoin in there, but I just look at Bitcoin more as a proxy to what I'm watching versus an actual trade. And you can see, we've been slowly grinding higher on the daily chart. And just bear with me 1 second because Loom has changed their tools and I don't understand where. All right, I'm going to have to figure this out. But in any event, let's see here. You could see here 4 days of tight price action under 78.3K on Bitcoin. To me, this is bullish, right? Whenever you see tight consolidation on any stock or instrument, you're going to want to watch for a potential breakout. Now, I'm going to show you a trade that I took on Friday at the end of this video. So try and make it through if you can. The best advice I can give you is watch it at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. I don't talk very slow, but I also don't talk very fast. So somewhere in that range, you should be able to get to this through this video in at least 30 to 50% faster speed. So in any event, what I look for is these tight consolidative periods, whether it's on the daily chart or the weekly chart. The daily chart, I might be looking for a medium-term swing. The weekly chart, I'd be looking for a long swing. And maybe on a lower time frame, like a 30-minute chart, I might be looking for a day trade with tight, 4-bar price action or 4 to 6-bar price action. All right, so we've established that this is a setup. And so what does that mean? So I'd be looking at crypto-related names. I would be looking at the miners. I would be looking at names like MSTR, which we'll take a look at shortly. BMNR also. I would look at, like I said, the miners. Anything crypto related is going to run if Bitcoin runs. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's go through some of these names from last week. Now, I didn't put out an official idea. What you'll notice on my watch list here, the green dots are basically coverage, like actual coverage, meaning I've dropped a note, and I might have to update a couple of these because I see that I'm pretty sure I dropped a note on Circle. But yeah, so AROC, what is this? This is kind of close to a low tight flag. It's not quite there. It's only a 50% move in, what is that, 7 weeks. But look at this here. We've got a TTM Squeeze setting up right here, right? And so I really like this setup here. Now, would I buy on a break? Probably not. It's a little extended, I think, to the upside. But if we get a pullback next week to the 1021 cloud, I think that is an ideal area to potentially buy. Let me see if just looking for, okay, never mind. Okay, so going back to this, yeah, so I like this consolidation here between 33 and 37. Um, just looking back to see the personality of the stock. Are there periods of time where we've consolidated like this? Not really. Not that I mean, here before a nice continuation, this is a little choppy, but maybe like here before a breakout. So, I always like to look back on a stock and look to see its personality. Has it run like this in the past? What has it done after it's run? Has it done something like this? What is actually kind of interesting, I just noticed this. So look at this price action. So down, up, right? Look at this. It's kind of the same here, just a little more violent. So down, up, down, up, right? So sometimes, and I bet you if I put log on, it'll look a lot similar. But, I look for things like that, for symmetry in moves, for correlation to historical moves. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time here, but this setup looks really nice. That's why it's a carryover trade. Coinbase, right? Putting in the left shoulder, we put in the head, building out the right shoulder. Absolutely on my watch list. Circle, did I put a note out? No, I didn't. Circle's getting tight inside of this wedge. Don't know if it's going to go up or down, but something I want to take an eye out, keep an eye on and pay attention to. Okay, CoreWeave. We broke out. We basically nailed this entire move from 87 to 125. Nailed it, 100%. Did I lose some money on that last trade? Absolutely. But do I care? I do not. Because the money that I made from here to here was incredible, right? And so what I like to do in first movers, just so you understand my style of trading, in first movers, meaning, okay, I know that this is an ABC pullback in wave 4. Wave 4s can be sloppy, choppy, and just very difficult to trade. However, when I saw, this series of higher lows here, now this is not a higher low, higher low, higher low, right? But this is a first higher low, and now we have a lower low and a lower low. But this lower low, this last lower low is still higher than the prior low here on December 17th. So I'm still watching this, right? And then I could see that clearly establishes a base here at 87.64, right? Rejection, let's look at it closer. Right, you see rejection, 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 and then we had a gap over right here. What is this candle right here? This is a close the gap reversal. You see how the wick came in, it closed this little gap and then reversed higher. It's a beautiful trade, and this is exactly where I got in. And then I started rolling. So on this one, I took, I think, the 90 calls. And then the next day, I rolled up to the 96 calls. And then the next day, I rolled up to the 106 calls. And then the next day, I rolled up to the 118 calls. And then the next day, I rolled up to the 125 calls. And then these got a little choppy. I didn't take some profit on this wick right here. And then by this candle, I was just completely out of the trade. And then obviously, big pullback, right? And so now what am I watching for? So I've already forecast out that this could be a potential wave 1 of 5, right? And so now what I'm watching for is this pullback. And the pullback, they tend to come in 3 waves. So maybe it's an expanded flat. So maybe it's A, B, C, right down to maybe 100. Why do I think that that's possible? Well, number one, the symmetry is there. It's right at a 50% move, 96.05, but also 100. $100 is a nice round number. That's your Livermore level. And I see some symmetry here also at the 382 at 102.87. So am I trying to guess where the bottom is? No. But am I looking for where a potential bottom might be? Yes. And I'm not buying into the potential support. I'm buying over the break of that potential base or that potential support. All right. And then what I would do is I would use that low. Let's say the low is here. I would use this low right here as my stop loss. and I'm going to start taking chances. I'm going to start taking shots, right? And if it fails, I cut it quickly and I wait for the next setup. And if it fails again, I cut it quickly and I wait for the next setup. Eventually, if my count is correct, I'm going to win, right? So if I take a 0.5% loss or a 1% loss or a 2% loss on a trade, but then eventually I get a 50% winner or a 70% winner because I nailed the bottom or I nailed the reversal, that win takes care of all of those small losses. And so learning how to endure small losses is part of the game. You've got to build a thick skin when it comes to trading. All right, Cisco, no official. Actually, see here. So here's one. Official alert did go out. So let me just put a green box next to it or green tick. This one broke out over 87 last week, and it came right back into that area on Friday and bounced. So that to me is a tradable bounce. Okay. DHT, this is setting up like a barrier triangle. We have a TTM Squeeze setting up. No official idea out on this yet, but it's definitely on my radar because of this move right here. This looks like it is. This is a high type flag. So let me get my label here. Where is my high type flag label? There it is. So 75% move in 2 months. And let's see how much of a drawdown this is here. $18 drawdown. Beautiful. This is what I want to see. Look at that low volume inside day right there. I missed it. That was probably the entry right there on Thursday. Friday, outside day. But still in a really tight range. So I think it's still, as long as we don't gap up like 5 to 10% on Monday, I think this is very buyable with a stop probably under $17, right? I would put a stop like somewhere here. Right, 1707, because you just don't want the trade to go under this range. But it is possible it goes down as low as 1662. So if you wanted a looser stop, then you put your stop at like 1650, right? So you're risking, let's say you get in at 18 on Monday, you're risking $1.50 to the downside to potentially make, maybe $2 to the upside. So the risk to reward buying in the middle of the range isn't great. And that's why I would use like a tighter stop, like maybe here or even here. Let's say we get a break over 1806. I would put my stop at 1757 for a tight trade, right? And if we fail, we take a quick loss. But if we gain and we win, now you went from a 50-cent stop to a potential $2 gain. So that's a 1 to 4 risk to reward. To me, I take that trade all day, every day. Squeeze is setting up. RSI is in a bullish range. It looks great. All right, EOSE. I traded this one on this move here. And actually wound up buying leaps and did really well. And then it just got really sloppy and choppy. And so I just haven't been involved. So what I like about this setup here, a number of things, but the thing that really stands out to me is this rounded base. And what I'd be looking for, and it actually kind of is already, this is an island reversal. I didn't see it at first. I knew it was the potential reversal. Let's learn how to spell. Okay. So what it did was, it gapped down, right? And there's also another gap down right here, but then there's a gap up right here. So it basically creates this island effect. And, it happens like, look at the island reversal right here. And it has to be somewhat symmetrical. So let me just show you in this prior island reversal. So you see how price gaps down, comes back up to it, and then gaps over, and then look at the move it made here. Now, again, we talk about symmetry and we talk about memory. Memory meaning I want to remember these types of setups because in the future, we might have a similar setup come again. And then after this similar setup, it had a base for maybe a couple of months and then a monster breakout. So look, Here's your island reversal. This is maybe the beginnings of a base. We've got a beautiful close the gap trade right here to 1158. This could be an explosive move, right? This is a potential 49% move. So yeah, I mean, looks great. But the only thing that kind of turns me off a little bit about is the squeeze is already fired, right? All this bullish divergence signals here, beautiful move so far. It went from 5 to 7. So it's already made a pretty big move. But I do think that if we continue to consolidate in time, it will set up again. So yes, could you take this trade now? Absolutely. Shares, I think, work. If you put a stop under this range low right here, maybe under 682. If you use options and you want to use leverage, you've got to buy time, right? You've got to take leaps on this. And that's exactly what I did back here. I took leaps, I think on this, in this range right here. I took the 10 calls for, I don't remember. I think it was June of 26, something like that. And it just made this parabolic move. I made multi 100% gains on those. And then wound up selling, the rest somewhere down here. I missed this final thrust higher, but I'm looking for the meat of the trade. I'm not looking to buy the bottom and sell the top, so to speak. But yeah, the setup looks really good. GM, beautiful Elliott wave setup here, right? We'll zoom out on this one. You've got your, set this up. You've got your wave 1, your wave 2, your gap over the 1-2 channel. This is your wave 3 here, or this is actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3 is possible. For now, I have the count 1, 2, 3. This is your wave 4, and I'm maybe 1, 2 setup in wave 5. So this one looks pretty good too. Squeeze is already fired, so it just might need to, and it already is pulling back a little bit, and that's what you want to see in a wave 2, right? You want to see like an ABC retracement and then your continuation higher. But GM looks pretty good in my opinion. Not necessarily something I like to trade. It's more of a legacy trader. So these tend to not be so explosive. I like, your, more volatile, little riskier names because I do use options as leverage. All right, next one is HIM's been all over this trade. And full disclosure, I I was buying up here and held all the way down just on pure blind conviction. And listen, in hindsight, you're going to make mistakes. And I made a mistake of just not selling where I should have sold. So I had to cost average, and I cost averaged down here. I added more down here. I added my last bit down here around 21, 22. And now we're back at 30. I think my cost average is around the mid 30s now. So I'm almost back to break even. But I do like this setup for a reversal back to the upside. We do have a catalyst in, I think over the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be legislative hearings on peptides. I think RFK Jr. wants to get these approved off the gray market and into compound pharmacies. And I think, this could be a really good tailwind for HIMS. So if you don't understand anything about peptides or what this potential catalyst is, I highly recommend to do your due diligence, like on any of these names. Honestly, do your due diligence. Make sure you're coming up with your own plan. Obviously, this isn't financial advice. I'm just a trader out here trying to make a few bucks. Like everybody else. But I've been doing this long enough that I have a pretty good eye for setups to trade. So, like I said, don't follow me, but just pay attention to what I talk about. And if you're really serious about being a full-time trader or even a casual trader slash investor, I do put out a lot of good information, but the most important thing, for you and for your trading psychology is not to follow me, but to learn, right? And to develop your own system, your own way of trading. I, like you, I learn every day, right? I do a lot of social listening. I see what other traders are talking about. And, it helps inform me what groupthink is, right? Because trading is nothing but psychology playing out on the chart, right? This is all group psychology. Anyway, little intermission there. Hood, and that will happen with me. So for those of you who are new to my work, I do sometimes go off on a tangent. But, they're educational tangents. I'm not just going to speak to hear myself speak, right? Hood looks great. No official ideas out on. Oh wait, no, apologies. Official idea right there. There we go. Yeah. So as far as Hood, now Hood has earnings coming up. Let's see, on Tuesday. So no trade here unless you're already in. But this was a very tradable bottom. Look at the area of defense here. Prior area of resistance, turn support again. SR flip at 65.70. If you follow my work on X, I was calling for $65 back in January. Everybody was laughing at me. I'm the one laughing now because I literally bought the bottom and have been trading this back to the upside. So, I mean, people will laugh, people will mock you, right? They mocked a lot of people that, in the end looked pretty smart. And again, I'm not saying that I'm the best trader out there, but I do have an eye for charts. I have an eye for patterns, whether they are chart patterns or historical patterns. And I've been known to cap, to bottom tick some pretty big moves. That doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So, but Hood looks great here. Just watch to see what happens after earning. This could be a 1-2 setup out of wave 4. All right, IREN looks pretty good. Starting to break through the what could be a wave 4. I haven't done the Elliott wave chart on this, but this does look like a potential ABC, kind of like a possible. Yeah, this is like a stunted C, like a truncated C. But yeah, it looks good. LUMN, 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting wave 1 of 5 looks like it. Waiting for that pullback to get back in. MOD, ascending triangle. This was more of a flow trade, so I watch options flow during the day, looking to see where dealers are positioned, and if I see, bullish options flow in a name that's already charted and a plan ready to go, to me that's just extra conviction to say, all right, I'm going to take a trade here, and I just know where I have to define my risk to the downside. MSTR started buying shares again on this last week. I do trade this using options, shorter dated, usually weeklies. I tend to not swing options on this just because of the volatility in the crypto market. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm basically short date trading it using, weekly options, and then rolling those profits into shares for the long term. Because it looks like for me, this is a pretty tradable bottom, right? If you look at the weekly chart, look at the range here, If we get through 183, this can make an explosive move higher. So again, why I like to kind of not try and bottom tick, but try and time some of these reversals to the upside. OII, this one's got a fundamental story as well as a technical story. I love these triangles. If you know my work and you've been following my work for a while, you know how I love to play these triangles. They tend to be wave 4 triangles, and this is playing out pretty good, right? We made a nice little attempt here on Thursday. Big range candle, right, from 35 up to 40. But inside day on Friday, it just might not be ready yet, but it looks very close. Open, another range trade, right, over 565. There was unusual call flow. into the 7 calls for August 21st, 1.1 million premium on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. So yeah, just keep an eye on it. Oracle, this is going back to my IGV chart post, right? Your software ETF. Keep an eye on Oracle. Keep an eye on software in general. Oracle, Microsoft, Palantir, CrowdStrike. I know there's one more in there that I'm paying attention to. Hold on, let me just call up my IGV chart. An app. Keep an eye on those names. Software might be bottoming here. We might get a nice relative strength push on Oracle. And I think that would be great for the market because semiconductors have really been carrying this. Oscar, again, more of a fundamental story. I would put this in the HIMSS camp, right? It's in healthcare, obviously. It's a riskier trade. It's a volatile trade, but technically looks really good. Qualcomm, I would consider this a laggard in semiconductors. All the semiconductors have run. NVIDIA was a laggard on Friday. This I feel like is still a little bit of a laggard, even though you had the gap up on Friday. I think that was because of earnings, whoever's earnings was. Or maybe it was, no, it wasn't. Their earnings actually are coming up. So again, you always pay attention to earnings too. Really, really important. Whenever considering a trade, I always look at a few things. Number one, how far am I away from the 21 EMA? In this case, very far. When is earnings? If it's near, got to pay attention to that. And are there same sector earnings, right? So for Qualcomm, when is NVIDIA's earnings? When is AMD's earnings? Like you have to look at the sector earnings because that will affect the name that you're trying to trade. UUUU caught some really nice flow on this last week, got 25%, and then gave most of it back on the pullback. But this sector also looks really good. This is URA, the Global Uranium ETF, LEU, UEC, UUUU, OKLO, any of those names, CCJ, keep an eye on them. The market tends to move in sectors, right? And it's basically what I call, or what traders call sector rotation, right? Money doesn't always stay in one sector. It rides higher in the sector and then money starts to flow out and flow into a new sector, right? You watch the sector rotation, it's easier to shift the trade into that new sector. You don't always have to catch the first name that breaks out. You look for the laggards. This is the NVIDIA trade that I'm going to go through. Okay, and then VPG is another carryover. No official idea here, but started coverage on this last week and it actually broke out on Wednesday, continuation back test on Thursday, continuation on Friday. TTM Squeeze has already fired, which is why no trade idea. I almost exclusively will put ideas out that have some sort of squeeze catalyst because it's just something that I've studied for years and determined that when you marry the TTM Squeeze with shorter dated options, you can make a lot of money. So again, not financial advice, just my experience in using a one particular indicator when everything else lines up, right? I'm not just going to take a squeeze just to take a squeeze, right? The chart has to line up, the indicators have to line up, the story has to line up, the timing has to line up. Okay, enough talking about that. Let's talk about ARM first. Sorry, I took a moment to think about that because I wanted to think about which chart I'm going to show first. So look at this move on ARM, right? This is your semiconductor space, your SMH. Massive move. Right? And the other thing, actually, before we even do that, let's just look at SMH. Right? Look at this massive move. That's a 4-week move. It's never done that. Right? It's never done that. This is completely new. This is just insane. This is an ETF. This is an ETF that's comprised of tens of names, like 20 names. That's wild. It's just crazy. ARM. Look at that weekly chart. So massive move, right? What else did we catch last week? AMD. Massive move, right? Huge. Look at the coverage. Now, look at NVIDIA. The move just started relative to everything else. Yes, it did make a big move up, but look at the tight consolidation. We talked about this earlier in the video. 5-day consolidation in a tight range. What was I looking for? I was looking for this. I was looking for the break of 202.59. So yeah, you got a false breakout here. It ran right into the 1618 at 203.55. You could have said, all right, I could wait there and still caught a big move. I didn't. Wanted to be a little more aggressive. 202.59, rejection, inside 30-minute candle, rejection, next 30-minute candle, breakout. And also, this aligned with options flow. There was flow coming in, 0 DTEs for Friday. There was flow coming in for the next few weeks strikes into the 205s. So that's what I took. I took the 205s 2 weeks out. And those paid massively. In this 30-minute bar, it went up to like 90%. And then I rolled to the 210 calls, scaled out some of the 210 calls here. I rolled up to the 215 calls. And those are down about like 15% or 20% on the close. But at this point, it's a free trade. I made the majority of my money here. I made some money on the roll up here. And when I roll up, I'm only really using profit. So I'm only using like 10, 15% of my total profit into the roll. And then for the second roll, I do something similar. So by that second roll, I mean, even by the first roll, it's completely de-risked and my money is in my pocket already. It'll settle in my account the next day. And now I'm just playing with house money. And that's what I love about doing this, right? And so if we continue to catch big moves, I'm rolling some of that gains into NVIDIA shares long-term, right? Because if we look at it on a long-term basis, what's happening here, right? Big breakout. We're very close to all-time highs, right? Earnings are coming out fourth week of May. So that's it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I know this was a longer video, but I thought it was important, number one, to take you through my carryover watch list, what's my thought process and how I pick names to carry over from the prior week. Number two, wanted to talk to you and take you through a little bit of my process and how I think about charts and how I think about trading. Number three, I wanted to do that NVIDIA review to show you a little bit about laggard trades and that you don't always have to be first to the trade, right? You don't always have to carry or capture the first mover in sector rotation, right? And there's a lot of other like little tidbits in there that you can glean from this video, but hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll try and do more of these type of review videos, post it to the Edge Lab video library, and we'll go from there. But all right, hope you enjoyed. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. My next step is to run my scans. I'm going to build the rest of my watch list using my scanners. And then last step is to build my focus list for Monday morning. Hope to see you there. Take care, everybody.